Sometimes betrayal doesn't explode, it leaks quietly into your life, filling the spaces you never thought could break. Sometimes love doesn't die loudly, it fades. One argument, one insult, one ignored instinct at a time. And sometimes the person you trusted the most becomes the person who wounds you deepest, leaving you to decide whether to rebuild the ruins or walk away from them forever. This is the story of how my marriage cracked open. Slowly, painfully, and without warning. I'm 35 years old, so is my wife. For 8 years, we built what I thought was a stable, predictable life. Not perfect, not magical every day, but something real, something structured, something that felt like a home instead of just a house. Together, we brought a beautiful boy into this world. He's 6 now, full of energy, full of questions, full of that innocent brightness that children carry before the world teaches them how cruel it can be. For a long time, I believed that no matter how many challenges came our way, the three of us would always remain a unit, a little fortress against the world. But life has a way of breaking even the most confident illusions. Everything began unraveling after a summer camp trip. It was supposed to be harmless, a simple family retreat where she went with our son and her mother. A week away from home, surrounded by nature, sports, routine-free days, kids running around, parents chatting on the sidelines, the usual stuff. But I should have paid more attention to the small details she let slip afterward, the subtle shifts in her behavior. When she returned, something about her felt different. Not in an obvious dramatic way, but in the quiet, unsettling way that makes your instincts whisper before your mind has caught up. She seemed restless, distracted, nervous, emotional in a way that didn't match the lighthearted story she told about the camp. She started smoking again after years of quitting. She paced around the house more. She looked at her phone too often. Not in a suspicious, hiding something way, but in a lost, unsure way, as if she was waiting for something, or someone. I tried to give her space. I told myself she was tired. I told myself the champ had drained her. I told myself all the usual excuses people invent when they are desperately trying to avoid the truth. Then one day, by complete accident, her laptop was left open on the table. Now, let me be clear. I am not the type of man who checks my wife's devices. I never believed in policing her phone or monitoring what she does. I've always respected her privacy, to an extent that now feels painfully ironic considering how often she went through my phone, how quickly she accused me whenever she was feeling insecure, how intensely she monitored me while doing things she herself eventually ended up doing. But that day, something compelled me to look. Not out of suspicion, but because her behavior in the days prior had been so strange. And there it was. Messages. Conversations. Light at first. Friendly. Then, progressively more personal. More intimate. And then, undeniable. She had slept with our son's football coach on the camp. My entire world fell silent. It wasn't just disappointment. It wasn't just anger. It wasn't just heartbreak. It was a feeling deeper than all three. Like a sharp, cold hand gripping my spine and squeezing until I couldn't breathe. The room around me blurred. I could hear myself breathing, too loud, too fast. My hands trembled. My stomach tightened. It didn't feel real. It didn't feel possible. This was the woman I had loved for nearly a decade. The mother of my child. The person I built everything around. And she gave herself to another man, easily, quickly, impulsively, without thinking about the home she was breaking. But as painful as the cheating was, what made it even worse was understanding that this betrayal didn't come out of nowhere. It came out of a relationship that had already been slowly decaying, a fact that I had been too blind, too hopeful, too forgiving to fully acknowledge. Because the truth is, things had been bad between us for a long time. Intimacy had slowly faded away. Some months we barely touched each other at all. And when we did, it felt forced, routine, empty. There was no tenderness anymore, no warmth, just obligation. A large part of that was her temper, a rage that could erupt unpredictably, sometimes over the smallest, most insignificant things. She snapped at my son, she snapped at me, she snapped at life itself. It felt like she was constantly carrying an invisible storm inside her, and the rest of us were forced to live under its thunder. Losing keys could start a fight. Misplacing an item could turn into a shouting match. A disagreement could escalate to days of tension. She insulted me often. She belittled my work. She mocked my income, even though I provided everything for us. A stable life, a good home, vacations, comfort, security. The worst moments, the ones I don't like to admit happened, are the ones where she crossed physical boundaries. The time she hit me. The time she spit in my face. The time she humiliated me while our son watched. Those memories still sit in a dark corner of my mind where I've tried to bury them. And I did bury them because trauma has a way of disguising itself as normal, especially when you love the person causing it. In response, I shut down emotionally. I withdrew. I stayed quiet. I went to my room. I scrolled on my phone. I slept separately because it was the only way to avoid the chaos. And because I withdrew, she convinced herself I didn't love her anymore. She convinced herself I was the one destroying the marriage. And that belief, that false narrative, is what she now uses to justify her affair. She says she cheated because she felt lonely, because she felt unloved, because she felt disconnected. But I see it clearly now. She didn't cheat because she was lonely. She cheated because she refused to confront the storms within herself. Now, 5 days from today, she's moving out. She found a place near us so our son can stay in his school. In a strange way, I'm relieved. In another way, I am grieving. It's a confusing duality, wanting peace but mourning what could have been. But in the middle of all this mess, she suddenly flipped her behavior. Ever since I confronted her, she has been different. Affectionate, soft, gentle, seductive, vulnerable. We've been intimate every day, something completely out of character for her after years of distance. It confuses me. It frustrates me. It pulls me in even while I know I should stay away. But the biggest red flag, the one that tells me she's still not being fully truthful, is her refusal to show me her current messages with the coach. She says she deleted them. She says it's over. She says she regrets everything. But people who have nothing to hide, hide nothing. Which is why I believe deep down that she still has feelings for him. Or at the very least, still feels emotionally attached to whatever fantasy he represented. So now we're stuck in this strange, temporary arrangement. Technically separated, emotionally tangled, physically connected, legally married, but mentally nowhere near stable. We agreed to revisit the idea of divorce in a few months. Part of me knows divorce is the right path, the inevitable one. But another part of me, the part shaped by years of trauma bonding, still feels pulled towards her. still feels attached to the version of her I wish existed more often. Sometimes I wonder if it's even love that keeps me tied to her. Or is it habit, fear of change, the comfort of familiarity, the intoxicating cycle of conflict and reconciliation? The truth is, I don't know anymore. It's only been 8 days since I discovered the affair, and these 8 days have been some of the darkest of my life. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't stop replaying images in my mind I never wanted to imagine. One night, the thought of her undressing for him, the thought of her touching another man so casually, hit me so hard I had to run to the bathroom to throw up. That's what betrayal does. It doesn't just